Thank you, everybody, for coming here, for being here. We are so grateful. This is the first of hopefully many Advocacy 101 webinars that we'll be offering with the initiative of making connections, learning how we can stand up for ourselves as a community, the Jewish people, build alliances, and not just be keyboard warriors, be active. So with us is the one and only Soraya Deen. She is a lawyer, a Muslim feminist, and an award-winning international activist, community organizer, interfaith advocate, and public speaker. She is the founder of the Muslim Women Speakers Movement. The women work in areas of addressing religious extremism, anti-Semitism, hate, gender equality, and public leadership. Soraya is also the co-founder of the Interfaith Solidarity Network, which is one of the largest interfaith organizations in Los Angeles. She's currently reading for her public leadership credentials at Harvard. And her book, which you can look up, is called Organize, a handbook on how Jewish, Muslim, and interfaith communities can heal division and build solidarity, and it will be out late this summer. So everybody needs to get a copy of it. And before I launch into our question, anybody who's not already on here, if you are active on Facebook, please join our alternate Facebook group. It's called Maccabees on the Ground. We are trying to build that as a community of what it says, on the ground, people to come and participate on campuses. So not just, behind the scenes, but more actively engaged on campus. So that's Maccabees on the Ground. Okay, Soraya, my first question to you is, how does one differentiate between a Muslim who wishes to have everyone conform or convert and follow strict Muslim doctrine, and a Muslim who has a personal connection to their religion, but is not necessarily looking to convert other people? So I guess maybe more of a radical belief and ideology versus somebody who is very comfortable in their religion and is accepting of all other religions. Are there kind of telltale signs or things that would indicate the difference between those two groups of people?
Thank you, Miriam. It's a great honor and joy to connect with you all today. I was in Los Angeles last night. I'm in New York this morning. And tomorrow I'm heading to DC.
Wow.
It's been a roller coaster time of travel. You ask a very important question, Miriam, that has several parts. First is to make everyone understand 60% of the Muslims are from South Asia. We learned and practiced a different band of Islam. And there's 15 to 20% who grew up in the Middle East, the Arabs, and they had another different brand of Islam. Though, of course, even in South Asia today, we see a rising anti-Semitism because there are so many vested interested parties who are funding heavily to promote and to legitimize anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. So to answer your question, Islam is not a monolith. It has text and it has context. So one of the primary ways to differentiate would be to understand where is this Muslim coming from. Because for us, South Asian Muslims, 60% of us are in South Asia. Indonesia has the largest Muslim population. India comes second, and then there are the other countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Maldives, and all of that. So for us, we have been made irrelevant by the Arabs. So when I grew up in Sri Lanka, I grew up learning about Jewish contributions to my country, that was Sri Lanka. In 1841, Professor Van Dort translated the Quran into Hebrew. Thereafter, I think it was the Rothschild's brothers, Rothschild's grandchildren, who brought the first tea plant to Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we export the best tea, one of the best teas in the world. So it was the Jewish contribution. So we are not people, not the Islamists, nor are we the Arabs. So there's a huge distinction here. That's why our struggle is building a new leadership in the United States with this third voice, because the Arab Muslims have failed all Muslims, and they have failed America. And you can see what is happening right before our very own eyes. So, having understood who these Muslims, where they come from, then we try to understand their doctrine. There is the Islamists who want a political Islam. They want Islam to govern. They want a caliphate, and they want even Western societies to embrace Sharia law, and they're done terrible work. And I, as a Muslim woman, it's hard for me to take the sole blame for this, because our successive governments, the Democratic government of Biden and Obama, they emboldened these extremists. I've been working on the Hill for the last 3 years. Before that, I've been a regular person on calls with Washington, D.C., and we were warning people that this what is happening, and nobody paid attention to us. So there are the Islamists who want a political Islam, and there are people like us who come from a Sufi background. We see religion as a mystic relationship with God. And again, the third actor in this is Saudi Arabia, who for years exported Wahhabism. It was an extreme version of Islam. Poorer countries like even Sri Lanka, their lives were hijacked because of economic necessities. So Saudi Arabia, what it would typically do is uh, uh, take young people to Saudi Arabia, teach them this radical version of Islam, and then they spread it. They get these to people to go and open mosques and teach this radical version of Islam.
Wow.
So there is this constant fight between the Islamists and moderate Muslims. And I'm a part of this movement for many years with Dr. Zuri Jasser, if you know him, from Arizona. Then Ayan Hirsi Ali, one
Yeah.
of my most respected women who had the courage to speak up.
She's amazing.
She's
She's
amazing,
amazing.
yes. And together, we are all the founding members of Clarity Coalition. It's a coalition of Muslim reformers. And as always, we know it's not that we lack the will or the skill. It's just that we lack other things like funding and support
Right.
and all of that. But we are having very serious meetings about what our next agenda need to be.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I we could go on talking about this for hours because I know there are so many different sects of Islam, and each one is specific in their own way. And I know that some are more predominant, maybe more harmful than others, and they just kind of overlap. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
My next question, which will, excuse me, probably lead into what you wanted to talk about, what the purpose of today's webinar is, what does courageous and effective advocacy look like when speaking up for Israel in the Jewish community might bring criticism, hostility, or personal consequences? And how do we move from that fear and frustration into confident action?
Great question. And a part of the last question also, Miriam, is to remind the people the Quran refers to Bani Israel and a state for Israel in over 30 times in the Quran.
Right.
Just imagine these were not taught to us. What was taught to us was an extreme version of hate the Jew, and today we are paying heavy prices. So, to your second question, Miriam, I am not here to teach you something new, because I think you know this already. Those of you who read the Old Testament, Exodus 18, I ask you to go back and read it again. Moses' father-in-law visits Moses in the wilderness, bringing Moses' wife and his two sons. I don't know where they went, but the story is that he brought them. So observing Moses exhaust himself by individually judging the daily disputes of the Israelites, Jethro advises him to delegate authority to capable, trustworthy men, capable, trustworthy people who are committed. So Jethro's advice revolutionized the leadership structure of the Israelites and established one of the foundational biblical principles of delegation. So we, on the one hand, we have that. Then on the second hand, we also grapple with what the first century Rabbi Hillel taught us. Somebody went up to him, maybe somebody or many persons, and asked what they could do about the problems and challenges they were facing. So Rabbi Hillel reminded us to ask three questions. Who am I if I'm only for myself? So that was not a selfish question. He wanted us to find out, who am I? What ticks you? What is it that is so valid about you that somebody else is going to take you seriously and support you? The second question Rabbi Hillel asked was, what am I if I'm only for myself? So there he clarifies further. Once you understand who you are and what you are about, you can't be for yourself. You have to be for others. And then third question, one of the most important questions of today is, if not now, when? So this does not mean that we have to jump over the bridge and kill ourselves, nor do we have to wait till we finish another degree, nor do we have to wait till we take the next class. He's saying to us, do something now. And I can't stress how important this do something now is. I want to tell this little story because sometimes stories stay with us. Think of this young man who's learning to be a lifeguard. He's taking his lessons, and at some point during the lesson, his instructor has to step outside. And at that particular time, there's a child drowning. So this young guy, though he's a student, he does not have the luxury of saying, oh my God, I have not finished my course. I don't know what to do. Oh my God, I need to find my instructor, go look for him. Nor can he say, I'm alone, maybe somebody else will do it. We are in such extreme, dangerous, urgent moments. So what the young guy needs to do is jump in and save that child to the best of his ability. That is what we are talking about, how we could dispel this scourge of hatred, this scourge of anti-Semitism, this scourge of anti-Zionism. For the longest time, Miriam and my friends out there, we've been silent. It is our mistake to bear, our mistake to own, and our duty to correct it. Recently we started this anti-BDS movement as Muslims. Before, the Jewish community fought anti-BDS with their laws and with their influence, just between mostly Jewish people and some lawmakers. But now we have a loud voice of Muslims saying, anti-BDS, calling for anti-BDS. So like in instances like that where we have to come out, speak out in order to dispel all this hate.
And there's so many people who really want to get involved and help. Each one in their own way, in their own comfort level. There are those who are more inclined to be, active on campuses, those who are, do well phone calls, emails, that kind of thing. What is a good way or a next step that you would recommend for us to really start using our voices to speak up and be heard amongst all of the communities? I think you're on mute.
Yes. Great question, Miriam. There's so many answers to this particular question. You are asking very specifically what we can do specifically.
Yes.
Yes. So I know most of us are doing something. Can you please type in the chat if you are uh, doing something very significant with MACA? I just want to see how many are doing something significant. Because this work is not about signing a petition or typing an email or forwarding text to people. This is based on relationships. We
Right.
have
Right.
to build relationships.
Right.
In fact, later in the little session, I will go very deeply into that. But I'd like to see how many of you, I know you're all working with MACA in some way contributing, but do you have a specific statement, that organizing statement that you are specifically working on? If not, that's fine. That's what we
Yeah.
are going to talk about today.
Right. I mean, I can say as MACA, we have a more broad mission statement. And then what we hope to do, what we're doing now in several states, is incorporating that mission statement to be more active on the ground. I think you and I discussed a lot of the things that we've been doing here, especially in Dallas. Los Angeles has had some events as well. Michigan has some events as well. Is that Michael? Michael's very active in New York with other organizations and also helping incorporate MACA into those as well. Michael, do you want to talk about what you're doing in New York? Where is he?
Mhm.
Michael, you're on mute if you want to chime in. No? Okay. Heather, do you want to talk about anything? Heather's on our MACA board as well.
Miriam, can you type into the chat the
Yeah.
mission of MACA?
The mission? Yeah.
Yes, mission,
I'm
so that
probably
we
gonna
are
have,
all on the same page.
yeah, I
Yes.
will. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I think Heather typed something very beautiful there.
We also have a wonderful student leader here, if maybe he would like to come on and say something.
You can call them out by name.
I mean, what if some people are eating or something like, I don't really want to talk, I just want to listen, and that's okay too.
So I love what Eve has written. She says, I clean up Jew and Israel hate graffiti in Manhattan. Very specific.
Amazing.
Yes. So the Eve, is it I or we? Is it only you? I also put up Jewish and Zionist pride stickers and signs on the streets.
Yeah, well, I work with in Manhattan the sticker campaign and the Hatikva collective. So it's a group that developed to support the return of hostages back starting in October 2023. And we continue to print and distribute stickers and posters throughout New York City.
Okay.
And I
Eve,
sort of do my own thing on the side.
oh, beautiful, Eve. Could you use more help? How about you had another 25 people working with you?
So one of the things that, because this has come up before, about there are groups of people who work together in smaller groups throughout New York City, but I find that it's better to go under the radar and attract less attention on my own. I mean, people
Oh,
worry about me safety wise, but I am very careful, and I'm just there to clean up hate messages on the street, on sidewalks. It's just getting rid of it, and then I put messages of Jewish pride and Israel pride over it.
right.
And it's sort of I like being sort of the undercover agent in
Yes,
Manhattan.
beautiful. Of course, that is your path, and
Yeah.
yeah, that should be supported. So, would you like more undercover people who can do more stickers, who can remove more graffiti?
Yeah, I think that's the Hatikva Collective. It's
Hmm.
you can go. They're on Instagram. That's their account, Hatikva Collective, and there's a whole group of people, and they're not just in New York City. They're throughout the country and actually across the world. Small groups, and again,
Hmm.
it started from the Save the Hostage campaign, the bring home now campaign.
Hmm.
So there is a group, and we meet. We have a WhatsApp group. So if anyone is interested in doing that or helping, check out the Instagram account Hatikva Collective.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Beautiful. Just this morning, Dr. Zudi Jasser wrote in our group chat that he showed us the picture, have gone and drawn the Star of David on his poster. He's running for office.
Mhm.
Yes. So do you have a team, Eve, in Arizona?
I'm in Manhattan. So
Oh.
Eve, I'm Eve. I'm in Manhattan, and my Instagram account, if anyone wants to contact me, is Jefferson, my cat. That's my cat, Jefferson and Eve, and I'd be happy to follow up and connect with people anywhere in the country.
Eve,
Okay.
will you put your email
Yes.
or your handle in the chat so
Yep.
people can see that? Also, for those that the sticker, the Hatikva Sticker Collective, right?
Yes, it's Hatikva
Um,
Sticker Collective.
Yes, they do have printable stickers, I
Yes.
believe.
Yes.
So you can get those for free. Like if I follow Gabe Draws,
Yes.
Alicia Fine.
Alicia Fine. Yes. Yep.
Yes. So there are some artists and they will do the art and they will make the
Mm-hmm.
stickers. And then you can actually go and get a file and you can print them off yourselves. They give you instructions even about using like a thermal printer and things like that. And they're very receptive to DMs is also.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Eve, because that is an amazing. I love it. I will tell you, Miriam is the pro at keeping stickers in her purse,
Mm-hmm.
and she will stick them up when she when she sees something to
And a
cover
Sharpie.
and a
Yeah,
sharp.
and a Sharpie. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I always am
Yeah.
prepared with a black thick Sharpie, and I also walk around with a can of spray paint.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
nice. I don't think we could get away with that in the Texas heat in our car,
Yeah,
but I
well,
definitely have a Sharpie with me at all
okay.
times.
Wow.
Thank you. Thanks for your support.
Thank
So
you.
please listen and reach out to Eve. In fact, Eve, I will, through Miriam and Andrea, just give me your contact because I want to give your contact to Dr. Zudi because we are stunned that this happened in Arizona of all places. A huge Star of David on the forehead on his poster. Just imagine the audacity. First, they removed the hostage posters. Then they started defacing buildings and other artifacts, and now they have gone to this extent. So the point is that in organizing, the number one question we ask is, who are my people? It's not even the issue. It is first the people. So organizing is all about building power. I talk about a very simple formula, if you know 5 people, and I know 5 people. If you know 5 people, invite them to your home, have a conversation, and listen to what they are excited about to do. Share yours, and there you will find synchronicity. Otherwise, we are having the wrong people in the right bus. So it's no point in saying, oh yeah, we are together, but if we don't come together collaboratively, you don't have a team. That is why we are all suffering, me included. I am every day doing one-on-ones, calling somebody, asking whether we could, what they are about, and there is a process to that I will share with you later. But first thing is building relationship. Who are my people? So now you have 5 people who are having coffee with you at your dining coffee table. It's your duty to share with them the organizing principles of each one of them bringing 5 more. So now we have 25 people in the city of Manhattan, who is doing what MACA is trying to do all by themselves. And I know they have communities working with them around, but we want to reinforce that strength, that community. That is what is organizing is about. It's not about standing up alone, because alone there's only so much you can do. Community building is very important. And the second question you ask is, what is their problem they want to solve? So this is a process where we understand the self-interest. Now, I know if I tell Miriam, I'm building a school for underprivileged students. Miriam might say, okay, I will support you, Soraya. Maybe I'll send you a check, but I'm not going to lie awake and think about these students' project that you're doing, because my heart is in Mothers Against Campus Anti-Semitism. To see the difference, we have to find the right people who are on fire with you for the same strategic mission. And there are so many missions. That is where we do the one-on-ones and bring them on board. So I challenge every one of you. I know you belong to MACA. Bring 5 more people to MACA. That is our task. That is our task. Then you ask, how can they begin to use their resources to solve the problem? This is the dance of leadership and power, you know. I have something that you need, and you have something that I need. That is why I believe very deeply I have to be a bridge builder, because of the fact that the Muslim leaders out there, they have the power that I don't have. They have people. I need to get to those people, because my goal is, when I come to you in 6 months' time, I must have a good 50 people to show you these are the Muslims who are standing with you. Because I don't want to be interesting. I'm interested in this grave crisis that not just you, that is impacting us. Because, you know, you might think anti-Semitism, and Miriam says this, no, not at all. It affects all of us. But we Muslims, we are regressing. You know? It hurts me that all the while, when you are advancing in so many ways, despite the fact that you're facing anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, the Muslim community is regressing, because their main issue is how can we advance Palestinianism? This has become the 6th pillar of Islam. So I see more than that they see, because I see where they are coming from. You know, this is a group of Muslim leaders who are preventing anything good happening. That is why we are now in separate circles, you know, cycles, in separate groups, trying to call these people out, and not just only call, but to replace it with something better. So when you ask these 3 questions, who are my people? What is their problem? Because the problem that Eve faces in Manhattan is not the problem what Miriam is addressing in Dallas. It's different. So when Miriam meets somebody who fits with Eve, she has to connect them and see how she can build power, you know. And if Eve meets somebody who has a student on campus, she has to get to know MACA. So it's a very, very active space that we operate. That our ability to show up for the cause is something that has to be in our DNA. You just wake up with such fire. Yes. So then we have to learn to build relationship. In that, you're going to understand, as I said, who are you going to recruit to your leadership team? What and how are you going to do your one-on-ones? You know. So simply put, I might even suggest to you, write a list of 20 people in your community, 20 names who has influence. I don't know how many of you have such a list. We have to write that list, and you call and you talk to them. This could be not just Jewish people, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. There's so many people in the community that we have not approached. So we are very, very specific and clear about writing this list, calling them, meeting them for coffee, building the relationship is very, very important.
Yeah. And
And
Soraya, if I could just ask a question, because I know you and I have discussed that here in Dallas, we do have alliances with the Hindu and the Persian community. And I would love to reach out to members of the Muslim community as well. What I've found, and granted, we haven't done too much research, and I think Andrea can attest to this as well, just what we've seen on mothers' Facebook groups here. Um, we haven't found those quote unquote moderate Muslims that would be willing to really engage with members of the Jewish faith, right? If we say anything about, hey, I'd like to get in touch with the Muslim community, I'd like to learn more about it, the conversation often turns very confrontational. And we're not coming at it from a confrontational aspect. We really are trying to locate and build bridges with that community. What we see and hear is like the Omar Suleimans, right? I mean, that's kind of who's getting the big voice around here. I honestly would not even know where to begin to find Muslims who would be on board with allying with us here.
there is a woman I'm going to introduce you to, Muniza.
Okay.
Yes, we will begin there, you know. She is one of our partners and she does phenomenal work on research. And yes, sometimes to get to the Muslim community, you might not even have to go to them. You have to build another alliance. How are the relationships with the Christians and others, Miriam? Can you use them?
Yes, yes, we absolutely can, and we have. We've had a couple of events so far where we've opened, we've welcomed our Christian neighbors. Um, there are quite a few churches around here who are very pro-Israel, and Gateway Church even has a center for Israel, things like that. Um, their congregations are much, much bigger than ours. So it's just a task going in there. I go and I drop off flyers and I talk to people, but they're very, very busy, and sometimes it's very hard to get a hold of the lead pastors. So it's just, constantly trying to follow up with them.
Can
Mm,
But
we,
yeah,
I
they're very
believe,
welcoming and very much do want to participate and be involved.
wow.
I
So,
think Rusty has his hand up and he wanted to, I believe, comment possibly.
yes, please.
Can you unmute, Rusty?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I'm new to this, and one of the concerns that I have that it we have challenges with groups outside of Judaism. We also have challenges with groups inside Judaism, um, and it's when I heard um, Tony speak, and then Soraya speak. I got the distinct impression that those of us that are, let's say, less than the conservative, are not welcome here. And I want to make sure that I didn't hear that correctly.
Could you repeat that, please?
When you, let's see, so we below your hand. Oh, so Tony, when you spoke about this conference and you talked about some of the people that were there, and then Soraya came on a moment later and made it seem like those of us who are on the more liberal side of the equation aren't welcome here.
I did not hear that at all.
And my personally, my advocacy takes partisanship out of it at the threshold level. What we need as Jews to support us in Israel is not right or left, it's everyone. So I basically do not entertain political statements, political comments, and I always turn it back to the first principle. I didn't hear that said. I try to get along with every persuasion without them knowing what mine is.
The I appreciate you saying that. That's very important because um, I'm uh, I'm the president of a region of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, um, which is an organization of about 250 clubs around the world. I'm president of the Texas region, and that's a big region. Um, and I'm working to organize in support of this. The challenge is um, for me to be successful with these folks, I have to recognize that there are, um, and this doesn't have anything to do with the Palestinians and Gaza or anything else. This has to do with just the basics of um, their belief systems, their values, and connecting. And the only thing that ties it together for me is we've got to stop these lunatics. I don't, you know, I don't understand them anymore. I thought I did. When I was in college, I was terribly bullied by anti-Semites, and that was 50 years ago. So this ain't new. What's new is this approach, this standing up for ourselves, this saying, this ends today. And so this is my first meeting with you guys. I'm glad to know that um, the political background doesn't matter. What
It
matters
doesn't,
is
I didn't say it doesn't matter to anybody else. It matters to me because neutrality is the only way to build relationships.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I wanted to just see if we can bring it back because I know there's going to be a lot of questions and Soraya wants to cover a multitude of topics. So I don't know, Soraya, do you want to open it up for questions now regarding what you've already talked about, or did you want to go ahead and move on?
So are we done with your questions? I would
I,
like to share a
I
small PowerPoint and talk a little bit in depth about leadership and organizing. Should I do that?
Yep, that works.
Okay. Okay. So, I want you to know who I am, because until we touch the emotion, we are not going to get support. We are not going to build that relationship with the other person. The emotional part comes with our story. Um, I will share with you what I do, but briefly to share with you that what is leadership that we are talking about right now is accepting responsibility for enabling others to achieve shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. Leadership is required in uncertain times. If everything is fine, we don't need a leader. So, so then we ask the question in terms of what we have done. I might even ask MACA these questions. Have you solved the problem you came to solve, Miriam? Then, if it's not yet, you might tell me, no, we have 25%, we have 75%. Then that's perfect. Then we ask the second question, did we build capacity? And I know this for a fact, MACA has built capacity. It's right across and it's flourishing and you're doing everything to build that capacity. And in that process, did we learn and grow? So these are some simple questions. We keep it real and organic because not everybody can come and part the seas and do something that is measurable. It's a journey of uncertainty. It is a journey of experimentation. But we have to get started. We are not free from solving it, but we are not free from not getting started. We are not called to solve it. We are not free from getting started. So to bring back to why we are here is something that you know, that I know. We had no power. We still have no power. Why do we not have power? Power is numbers. When the Intifada crowd shows up in hundreds, we don't have enough to show up for us. We are not organized to do something as effectively as them. But we are doing something. And here what we're talking about is how can we expand that reach? How can we build that capacity? So when you saw this happening, what were you feeling? Can you type on the chat, please? What were you feeling when these things were happening? What were you feeling? Because if you had no feeling, then that's not good. This should have moved you so much that you're not going to stay quiet in the face of this level of hatred, not only towards the Jewish people, towards our country, towards anybody who called out Hamas, towards anybody who challenged the people who were organizing this. There was immense hatred. So I want you to reflect on your feelings, because that tells you deeper why you are here. And I want to at this moment show to you something that you need to know, and something that is urgent for you to know. I'm sure every one of you heard about the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR. They call themselves the largest civil liberties organization for Muslims. This is what their leadership. Assalamu alaikum. So what is CAIR and how is it dangerous to the United States of America?
I was happy to see people breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land and walk free into their land that they were not allowed to walk in.
It says it's an advocacy group for Muslim rights, but it does three things really well. It espouses anti-American sentiments, and it connects to extremist groups, and it attempts to influence the political discourse of America, has fostered nothing but division in this country. Above all, what it does so well is it marginalizes the dissenting voices within the Muslim community, silencing moderate Muslims who may disagree with their viewpoints. So I'm showing this not to impress you, but to impress upon you how serious this problem is. This is so serious that these people who call themselves a civil rights organization, that's the president of CAIR, he makes a statement. You saw that. I don't have to paraphrase it. So dangerous is the hatred that is being organized, that is being legitimized, and that is being pushed forward at all colleges and campuses, and so much of damage is done. So in my own way, what did I do? I created a video to show this is wrong. And this is what we are talking about, taking action. We can all take action. And we don't want to take action alone. We want to build communities, strong communities. Because after the challenge for us after October 7th is that anti-Semitism has surged globally and Jewish communities are being demonized. So the choice is ours. We can either retreat into silence, or we can organize and build the alliances necessary to confront hatred. When communities organize, they can transform fear into power. That is why we are talking about numbers. And I say this with deep knowledge and being a witness to what happened to some of the Muslim communities after 9/11, And my father would always say that each of us are equipped to serve somebody whom we were once. And I remember when my son was only 7 years old in 2007, he was told he was a terrorist. He went to school that day, and the teacher had a discussion, and he said, all Muslims are terrorists. And my son was only 7. He said, Mommy, I was so scared. And the teacher went a little bit further to ask, are there any Muslims in the class? Knowing very well he was the only Muslim in that class. So he said, I was so afraid, Mom, I put my head down and pretended I was not a Muslim. So that day was a defining moment in my life. I went from pillar to post, looking on the online, calling people to see who are the interfaith organizations in my city. And there I met Marsha Novak. She's a Jewish woman. And together, she and I, we worked very closely. We had powerful interfaith marches. We founded the Interfaith Solidarity Network. We won many awards. And we did a lot of work, which we continue to do still. I was the president, but I had to step down because of my travel. So we did something. We didn't stay silent. We did something. So the point of this meeting is for you, each of you, to set a goal to address anti-Semitism and hate, for what it will make you become to achieve it. It's not just about, oh, I did these 5 activities. We have to go beyond asking ourselves, what will this make me become? This is a very important question. It's a self-searching question. We ask very deeply, whom do I need to become in order to do this work? And what will it make me become in order to do this work? So I would like at this moment, Miriam and Andrea, if we can do a few breakout rooms, equally distribute the people, and just ask a few questions of each other. Who are you? Where are you from? And why did you register for this training? And then we will come back to the main room, and one person from that group will share. And at the same time, when you are in a conversation, if you can just share what your values are. Why are you interested in this cause of anti-Semitism, solving anti-Semitism? That will be very interesting for us to debrief.
Maybe.
So can we then share what you found out? I think in the group that I was with, Heather was going to share.
I will start then.
Okay.
So in our group, we had Sarah A., Michael Mantell, and Nancy W. And I went ahead and went first. I'm going to continue on to Sarah, though. So Sarah has Judaism, Christianity, and Muslim in her family. And she said that she grew up a bit sheltered. She wasn't exposed to anti-Semitism. And when Sarai said, why are you here? Why did you sign up for this? She said, for a humanitarian perspective. So that was Sarah. Michael has done events with MACA and for MACA. He's located in the New York area. He came here to connect and to learn and to bring attention for those who didn't know too much about MACA. Nancy is from New York, moved to Texas. She grew up with a big Jewish community, and she joined MACA because her youngest child is in graduate school, and she came to this session to learn how to be an advocate and to learn what language to use when put in certain situations. So that was a wrap of our 3 participants.
Thank you, Heather. Who wants to go from another breakout room?
I can represent from ours. I was with Rusty and Stacy and Ariella. And Ariella is joining us from New Zealand. She actually teaches about the history of Israel, and she will be moving back to Florida. She's originally from Israel. And then Stacy and Rusty and I were all Planoites. So we were kind of just discussing the issues that are concerning for us. Stacy has been involved with MACA for a while. Rusty is going to be joining us and our Facebook group and being more involved with that. And we kind of touched back to what I had asked you earlier is really how to seek out the Muslims that are willing to engage in conversation and dialogue and things like that. And Ariella had pointed out that a lot of that does begin with just education, really educating a lot of people on the truth, who we are, what we are, in the hopes that once they understand it, the ones obviously who are engaged and willing to listen, once they understand it, maybe we can shift some points of view to be able to have more respectful and collaborative discussions.
Wow. You didn't know any of them before, Miriam, in the room?
Just Stacy.
You only knew Stacy, so you met two others.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Anybody, who else would like to share?
Probably, I popped into the last room and they had quite a few people in there. Did you guys get a chance? Maybe Sarah or Mimi or Elaine can tell us, anybody?
I think, hang on, I'm trying to get my video back on. I think it just went on. Yes, so we had quite a few people. I'm not going to remember everybody's name, but and I don't need to introduce everybody, but some local people, some people out of state, across different faiths. So it was a nice group to see some advocates from the Buddhist community, from the Christian community, and I mean, I think everybody's just concerned about not necessarily. I mean, everyone's concerned about anti-Semitism. It's a plague, it's a virus, and um, so anyhow.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think we have one more group to go.
No, I really think that there were only the 3 rooms.
Oh, okay.
I think. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I think, yeah, because we were gonna stay just in the main chat. There were 4 of us, and then I think Richard found his way or to one room or he left. And then Ariella I was able to put into a room, and Nancy I was able to put into a room. And then it was just me, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. So because now this is just scratching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to learning about who the other person is. So because Sarah was in my room, Sarah said something very profound. I'll just work with Sarah so you can see where I'm going with this. Sarah said she belonged to an interfaith family. Sarah, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sarah, your story is so profound at this time. Can you tell us a little bit more about your interfaith structure in how you grew up?
Sure. Yeah. So, one of the reasons I'm really interested in MACA is, I guess, kind of as someone else mentioned, I had a really sheltered background. Didn't personally experience, I mean, even you mentioned like experiencing racism, being someone from, I guess, sort of just like a non-white background. I really didn't even experience that at all until late high school and then college. Same thing, even knowing anti-Semitism existed like outside of, history books or that sort of thing. And so I really didn't have a perspective that dealt with a lot of hardship and even know that existed really until college. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm interested, I guess, because I have an intersectional background. As I kind of said, I sort of deviate from the typical stereotype that we see online and stuff like that of like the Ashkenazi Jew. I'm not, I don't, I'm not really a religious person, and I don't consider myself Jewish either ethnically because I have sort of everything. It's not like, it's a smaller percentage. But what did you want to know specifically?
Yeah, so what brings you to this work? Why are you interested in anti-Semitism?
Okay,
And
yeah.
what is the story you bring to your work? Your interfaith background?
Okay, yeah. So as far as why I'm interested in it, I think hearing from somebody who doesn't sort of have the stereotypical background adds value to it. And I think without having been raised religiously within my immediate family, my extended family is, as I said, kind of everything. Immediate family, mom, dad, not really that religious, or at least didn't have that religious influence around me growing up. Um, and so, like finding values without necessarily forcing myself to follow a specific religion involved, for me at least, sort of humanitarian efforts, right? So like recognizing an individual's dignity. And I think honestly that's where anti-Semitism comes from. And not even just anti-Semitism, but other isms, right, that involve judging somebody. It's just not recognizing their dignity and their inherent value as a person. And so if I can add value and offer that, um, let's see, if I can sort of advocate for that while offering a unique background that it doesn't match up with any of the stereotypes or maybe any of the typical person that might be interested in that. Uh, yeah, then I would be happy to. But yeah.
Hmm. So, I mean, you could advocate for many things, but why do you stay in that narrow? Who influenced you to think this way when you were growing up?
Okay. Um, I guess, yeah, I guess I sort of like the juxtaposition of being someone who looks Middle Eastern. I'm only half Middle Eastern, but I understand I, look full Middle Eastern to a lot of people. And being someone as well who advocates for the Jewish people. It's not usual, right? And we've even heard that in the meeting. It's hard to find people who um, look a certain way, or maybe who practice a certain religion or something like that, who would also be interested in and advocacy for Israel or Jewish people and so on. Um, and I wouldn't say that I sort of that I'm only interested in anti-Semitism efforts. So I don't think that necessarily that I've sort of zoomed myself in on that one topic, but it's one of many that I'm interested in. And yeah, I like the juxtaposition of it. I don't feel particularly connected to the sort of extremist Muslim background. I was personally affected by that growing up, and so that is one reason that I've decided not to go that route. Um, but yeah.
Okay. So I'm hearing it's meaningful for you to show up as a moderate Muslim who is standing
Uh,
up for hate and anti-Semitism. Sorry, I will
yes,
assume you're a
yes, but I'm
Muslim.
not.
You're not
Yeah, I'm not
Muslim?
Muslim though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have family who is Muslim.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That'd be my dad's side. Yeah.
Oh, dad's side is Muslim. Okay. And mom's side is?
Uh, a lot of them are Christian, and then going back, they are Jewish.
Okay. So growing up, you may have seen a lot of harmony in the way you were raised. Was there a lot of interfaith harmony in the family circle?
Honestly, religion wasn't really discussed that much. Just super sheltered. Not didn't go to church, didn't go to mosque, didn't go to synagogue, went to nothing. Um, grew up where it really didn't matter what background you came from. And I loved it, honestly. It was like I loved the sort of sheltered background, not having to worry about those sorts of things. And then growing up later on, it's like people always ask you to sort of define yourself. And honestly, I feel like one thing I've noticed um, with sort of anti-Semitism, right, and the whole social media conflict of like Israel versus Palestine, they've just made it into one extra divisive topic to sort of separate people, right? Like Republican versus Democrat. It's like this sort of pick a side-ism that's very pervasive. Yeah, and then in terms of just trying to get people to, I don't know, to just be separate from each other. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful. How many of you think Sarah's voice is important today? She's calling us to something so much higher, isn't it? Don't be divided by these tags. And her life, her growing up, her story is profound, where she learned these values, I don't know, from dad, mom, teacher, grandma.
I just had a unique childhood that I guess I thought was the norm. And then I grew up and I was like, oh, apparently that's not normal. So if I could just bring that to other people, you know, where you don't experience this pick a sideism, you don't really experience anti-Semitism, racism, otherisms. I mean, you know, and I had Jewish friends growing up. I had Muslim friends growing up, Christian friends. It didn't really matter, not religious friends. We all just kind of hung out and, you know, so that's something that I would like to, that's, you know, I think it's like if you experience something good, then you should share it with other people.
Right, right. Wow, I see you have such great work to do, Sarah, because the whole world is kind of burnt out with these sides, taking sides and who's right. And, you know, a person like you comes, are you in college?
I'm in school right now. I finished college and I'm doing a secondary program.
Okay. So
Can I brag about Sarah just really quick?
yes, please.
Because she's not going to do it. She's in flight school. Just saying.
Thank you.
You're going to be a pilot?
Hard worker.
Wow. So Sarah, I'm getting to your story, Sarah, because it's so important. Oftentimes when we engage the people, we don't tell our story, the beauty and the magnificence of the story of where we come from. But why do I advocate for the Jewish people? Because I come from a very, very service-rooted family in Sri Lanka where I grew up. My father had a phenomenal influence in me. And for him, you know, he would wake up, the first thing he asks is, what can I do today for somebody? That was this grounding philosophy. And for, like Mother Teresa would say, for him, service begins when convenience ends. So he would go out of the box, you know, out of his way. So Sarah's story is, we all have this story that Sarah shared with us. And I'm wondering how many of you know your story? Why are you driven? Because this is very important, because Sarah's story is my story, and it is our story. And when we talk to people, we have to lead with our story, because it is our story that builds the emotional connection. It is our story that makes our heart open for the other person. So that's a whole new thing on public narrative that we don't have the time. But I'm going to give you some homework in that. Write two defining stories about why you are here. There's some, and these stories speak to us about our values. Our values. I value loyalty. I value service. So my work is so centered, and it goes in that narrow lane. And where did I learn it? Growing up from my dad and the way I was brought up. So when somebody desecrates my values, you know, I'm not going to stay quiet. I speak up for that. So every one of you is here, and you have a powerful story. And especially, I say, the Jewish stories we have not heard yet. And until the Jewish people begin to tell their stories, the other side will be always heard, not the Jewish people enough. So find out what that story is in you that is so unique, that drives you to do what you're doing. So Sarah, do you have like a vision? Do you want to speak to some segment of people to talk about being neutral and to embrace the beauty and the dignity of everyone? What is going through your mind? I know you belong to MACA, but there has to be something more deeper and specific? Do you have it, or do you want to build it?
Yeah, I definitely can't speak for groups of people. And I don't think that I represent any specific group of people when I speak to these causes, and not a public speaker here either. Did not prepare for this, so sorry for the ums and such. But your question was, do I have a specific mission?
Yeah.
I think as far as what I do personally, the best thing that you can do is lead by example and just, like if you want to have less anti-Semitism in the world and less racism and less, and I say racism because it's something like that I kind of experienced later on in my life. But yeah, like those sorts of things. Like if you just want the world to be a better place, then you just kind of have to act that way and build personal connections with people. I think a lot of um, a lot of biases and sort of extremist views comes from othering and building people up into these caricatures. And the way that you can get over that is just by building personal relationships with people and not really starting with your differences, but starting with what's the same? What do we have in common? Like, how can we get to know each other and hang out and see each other as humans? Um, yeah, and just build mutual understanding. So that's my perspective.
So have you been speaking and building relationships with people on this particular?
I don't do public speaking. I don't, yeah, that's not, let me think. I think small groups are okay for me, but I would not want to do any kind of like giant public event. But as far as personal things, yeah, like going to MACA events, I was able to go to some this year. They know, unfortunately, that my schedule is super unpredictable with flight school and stuff like that. Andrea understands, her son's a pilot as well. But yeah, just building personal relationships. I think a lot of what you can do. I love that there are organizations that, get a lot large groups of people together and work on big missions. I also love, I think one lady was talking about it earlier, the lady who goes around, erasing graffiti, spray painting over graffiti. I think if you want to be, as she said, like a personal underdog, then that's one of the best things. Yeah, just to work on it in your own way. So yeah, that's my way.
Anybody else thoughts on what Sarah shared?
For me, I come at it from growing up in El Paso. I grew up in a conservative Jewish family, and there were not a whole lot of Jews there. There were a whole lot of other populations, and you were friends with them. And I find it very interesting later in life that I feel somewhat of an advocate for multiple groups, mostly for Judaism, but I also feel a need for the immigrant society too. And what I have found that has been troubling to me, besides the anti-Semitism, which I think is ridiculous, and I did face that in college as well, but I think people that I grew up with are so like, close the borders. Let's not have anyone here. Let's not. And I'm thinking, we grew up with them in our schools. We would walk across the border and partake of that culture almost every single weekend. So I find it very interesting how people I grew up with can have moved so far to the right and so far away from doing what might be best for society in general. So to me, I just find trying to have those conversations important, but at the same time, at what point is too much of that conversation so that you're not turned off or that, so like if you were a channel on a TV, that someone doesn't just turn to the next channel, that you can still engage them and not go overboard. So like finding that middle ground. And on a secondary level, my son married a girl from Israel, and her parents and family still live in Israel. Some are still in the IDF. She was in the IDF Air Force. And so I feel like I have to be like her bear mom here because her real, her mom is in Israel, but I need to protect her interests and their interests as a couple and advocating for that too.
Hmm. Wow.
I would like to say something about that, Renee and Sarah, to both of you. As an Israeli, we have been experienced lots of incidents that, mainly in October 7th, that can explain why the people who were your friends become to be extremely right. They went to the right side, extremely to the right side. So in October 7, they, before October 7, in the Gaza envelope, there were many settlements who were pretty much befriends, personal relationship with the Arabs that were living in Gaza. And there are many stories that relate to that, how they help and how they, it's not easy to cross the border from Gaza to Israel, so they help in different health issue and so, I don't know, different. There are many stories of that. Actually, there was a movie that was talking about that called Precious Life that actually emphasized that. The point was that in October 7, people realized that even though all these settlements, that most of them were on the left side, were mainly hurted by the Palestinian, and they were murdered. They were, you know all the story. I don't need to keep talking about that, but I think that was some kind of turning point for many Israelis and many people around the world to realize that this is not about friendship. This is not about making connection. It's kind of extreme religion that its main goal is to definitely not to, I don't want to say what, but definitely not to be friends with the Israelis. So, I'm not your age, Sarah. I'm much older than you. You're very young, and I respect your point of view, but sometimes I feel that I'm hopeless. I don't believe in it anymore. So that's my point here.
All right, thank you guys. I know we don't have too much longer left, but I wanted to see if anybody has specific questions for Soraya regarding the purpose, what we're trying to do here, how we move forward from advocacy, and any questions about her personal experience with the coalition and building bridges and how we can learn from her knowledge to make bigger steps in our own communities. So if anybody has a question, just speak up.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Miriam?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So because we have a little time until people figure out the question, so we talked about story and why it is so important that we lead with story. And there are several components of a story that we tell as community organizers so we can get more people to join us. I want to quickly show you this video. This is incredibly important. I hope you can hear. Please watch this young student at Harvard, how he is organizing, how he's telling his story, and how he's mobilizing. And after you listen to this, I really would, we need to write our story. So let's start listening.
Wow, well, 6.12 seconds. That's about how long it takes to fall 604 feet. And 604 feet is about how far Tyler Clementi fell after he jumped off the George Washington Bridge. Now, as we know, he took his own life because live video footage of him having a romantic encounter with another man was streamed live on the internet by his college roommate. Just one of a very long list of young people who have taken their lives because of anti-LGBT bullying in the past few weeks. Now, I never experienced anything like what Tyler went through when I was at school, but I was bullied for being gay. You see, when I was a kid, I was a ballet dancer. And every week I squeezed into a leotard and blue shiny hot pants. It was quite an outfit. And I spent an evening practicing demi-pieds and pirouettes. And I loved it. I loved the discipline. The music played on the old piano, the feel of the wood beneath my feet. I even secretly quite liked the outfit. But my schoolmates and some of my teachers didn't like ballet as much as I did. And one of my teachers, a PE teacher, used to make fun of me. He used to say how girly I was, how dancing is not something that boys should do. I remember the sneer on his face as I walked past, and I remember that he was the first person to call me a fag, which at 7 years old, I didn't really understand. I remember in high school how gay was only ever used as a term of abuse. And I remember one cold morning sitting in assembly while the principal intoned, "Homosexuals deserve our pity and our prayers." And I sat among hundreds of other boys thinking I was all alone in the world, that I was the only one who had this problem. Now, not everyone may have experienced something like that, but we all know, I think, what it means to feel alone, to feel like there's no one on our side. Perhaps you were too tall and the short kids made fun of you. Or perhaps you were too short and you got it from the taller ones. Or perhaps you were too smart or too dumb, or from the wrong side of town, or the wrong race. We all know, I think, even if just for a moment, what it feels like to think that there's no one on your side, to think that no one has your back. And all of us, if there are young people in our lives that we care about, can agree that we don't want this to happen to them. Imagine, if you can, what it must be like to come home and see a strange shape hanging from a tree in your backyard, twisting in the wind, the creak of the branch as it bends beneath the weight, and that feeling in your gut as you get closer and you realize what it is hanging there, who it is, who it was. Because that was Seth Walsh, 13, who hung himself from a tree in his backyard. It was Billy Lucas who hung himself at his grandmother's house. And it was Raymond Chase who hung himself in his dorm. And it could have been your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, or your friend. It could have been one of us. So I know I only came out in March this year, after 10 years after I first told my parents that I thought I was gay. And in those 10 years, I lost a lot of opportunities to make a difference. I was a high school teacher, and every day I wasn't out was a day I deprived the gay student of a positive role model. And I'm not willing to waste any more time. I have to act now. We have to act now. Because it isn't enough to let these things happen and then mourn them afterwards. We need to catch these kids before they jump. And there is something we can do to help as a start. Journalist Dan Savage has started a campaign, the It Gets Better campaign, to send messages of hope to teenagers who are being bullied because they're gay or for whatever reason, that they should have hope for their future, that they do have something to live for. And I think that if we made such a video, as Harvard students with glittering careers ahead of us and sparkling degrees, then we could make a difference. So we need people to hold a camera, to share their stories, to do editing and sound, to stand in a big group and say it gets better. No contribution is too small. And if you want to get involved and you're an undergraduate, talk to Tevin here. Do you mind waving? Oh, hi. And he'll tell you how to get involved. And if you're a graduate student, or if you just want to come along from 5 to 7 p.m. in the Elliott Lyman Room in Longfellow Hall at the Education Schools campus, stand up and say, we're standing with these kids. We've got your back. Let's catch them before they jump. Thank you.
What do you think?
Well, I have a few comments. Well, I mean, it's a very powerful, and certainly in line with having a story to capture people. Can you just comment on what about people who don't have a story? What about people who just see a responsibility to stand and act up? Maybe they're not personally affected, or maybe they just know right from wrong. Hey, I see anti-Semitism, and we all must do something about it. I personally, and I'm just making this up, but how do you convince people to who don't have a story? What should their tactic be? People
Okay,
who just know right from wrong.
great question. How did they learn to know right from wrong?
It's a general question. I don't have anything
Yeah.
specific.
So if we peel the layers, Sarah, there is somebody there who they learnt and picked up from. It could be a teacher, it could be an incident, it could be something happened to a friend. Our ability to tell that story is very important. I think there are a lot of stories that are missing in the public square. If you listen to what he did so masterfully, he had a clear issue, right? Everybody knew what he was defending, what he was standing for. Then he
Yeah.
had several story moments. I mean, how vividly he brought to see the images of coming home to see somebody hanging. You don't want to see that, he says, you know. It could be your brother, it could be your sister. So what is he doing? He's touching our emotion, touching that center in our heart, and bringing us to him, you know. And then here's the three more powerful things that he does. He talks about the urgency of action.
Well, and he might, not to interrupt, but he might not even have known any of those people personally, but he made them his story.
That's
So,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
his story was, Sarah, that when he was 7 years, his teacher called him a faggot. He was bullied,
Yeah.
right? And he
Yeah.
loved to dance. And just imagine the story of 95% of the gay people would be that, isn't it? They were in the closet, they came up. So his constituency is the people who will fight for gay, LGBT. And there are others who will join him in that, social justice activists. And then he talked about shared values. And then he talked about hope and a dream. I have a hope, I have a dream, let's do this. And above all, he had a smart ask. He said, if Harvard students would do a video like this, here is somebody, give him your name and get him, engage with him. So
Yeah, he was fantastic.
it was fantastic. We use this as a model story at Harvard. We do this, and there's a 12-week class on how to tell your story. So this is a deep-rooted thing. That look at what Obama did. You know, we knew his story, but we didn't know John Kerry's story enough. You know, we didn't know Hillary Clinton's story enough. So people who are able to tell their story, they can build better, stronger relationships and mobilize more. Like I was talking, Heather was there. I was in her group, specifically her story. She has 3 children in college. Just imagine a mother's anguish, seeing what she saw in college, you know. How can she tell her 3 children's story so that she can bring more people in? That is what we are talking about. And sometimes you have to I won't use the word, you have to add some spice to your
It
story.
has to be colorful.
Yes, you have to add some spice, I
No.
cried that day. When I tell my son's story, I tell it so vividly how I drove the car and it was afternoon and I parked it and I stepped out and the school bell rang and my son came to me crying, and I knelt next to him and I asked him what was wrong and he asked me, Mommy, are we terrorists? And since then, how I went to find build interfaith partnerships with people of other faith, and then built one of the strongest interfaith networks in my city. So there are stories, and sometimes we have to go a little deeper, and that's why I say there's so much we are not able to address today. And from that story, you get your organizing statement. This is what I stand for, because this is. So for me, one of the reasons I fight anti-Semitism is because of my children. I don't want them to grow up with hatred, I don't want them to live in campuses where hatred is taught. My son attends UCLA and it's terrible there. So I speak for that problem, So understanding your story, I'm wondering, Miriam, can we get everybody to write their stories and share it with me? And I would love to work with those stories. And
absolutely. If you will allow me to share your email address afterwards, because I will email everybody afterwards and get input on today's webinar. And I'd be more than happy to share your email and people can reach out to you individually.
Yes. And then this part is something before I leave, I want you to, where is this? How do I move this? Yeah. So then whom are you going to tell this story to? You have to do one-on-ones. Oh, I didn't stop. That's why. Okay. So here is this. So I want you to do two things, please. One is write your story. We need to hear your story. Your story must be so, so beautiful that you have not told us. With your story, mobilize others to join you. This is what happened to me. Don't let this happen to you. Don't let this happen to our community. And begin to share your story. And you will see the impact you are able to cause because of the fact that you are telling your story. And then schedule what we say one-on-ones. So remember I said write a list of 20 people. This is very important. This is very important, one-on-ones. So you call a friend. I would say do at least get to know two people. There were 17 people in this call. Reach out to two people you don't know. Now I know I'm going to give Eve's number when she shares it with me to Dr. Zuri Jasser so that Eve can mobilize the people who remove graffiti in Arizona. This is how we are going to cross-pollinate. So I would really strongly advise you to call people, schedule a meeting, and then to have one-on-ones. I saw you speak, and I would love to find out more about what you do. It's an interview where you're going to be very curious to find out about the other person. Once the other person has revealed, then you share your story, and then hopefully the other person might say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted to do. When Sarah shared her background, I also come from a very mixed background. My mom was born into a Buddhist family, then she became Muslim, and I didn't know what it was to. I didn't learn interfaith. I was born into interfaith. So Sarah's story is very important for me. I didn't hear many of your other stories, but there is in this particular 17 of us, we can each bring 5 people to MACA. That's the power you have. Craft your story, reach out to somebody, write a list of 20 people who are good stakeholders in the community. Some will have power, some will not have power, but they will be committed. You will find out as you continue to do and understand your story, because finally leadership is about this Hoberman ball. You can't do leadership alone. It's we won't go anywhere. It's taking responsibility to guide others to achieve shared purpose in uncertain times. So that is my wish for you. And I it's a little challenging to do a workshop online. I don't get to even say hello to each one of you individually, So I am looking for synagogues to do community organizing because I believe in synagogues there are hundreds of people who are doing powerful work, but not strategically organized into teams. When my friend Julie Marzouk fought the Irvine City Council, the city council was trying to raise funds for Gaza. She stood alone and she said, why are you raising funds for Gaza? You need to raise funds for the people of Irvine. So many people opposed her, but she stood alone. Fortunately, she was a lawyer. She knew what to say, and she won. She defeated that resolution. Imagine if and when she went to the city council, she didn't have many Jewish community members going with her. She went with 2 or 3 friends, but the Palestinian supporters had come with their kifayas, with their face hooded, and they had come in like 20, 50 people came every day to the hearings. So I'm thinking we don't all have to do the same thing. If in your group there's a group that has a mobilization team, Okay, wow, where Miriam, you're going to that event? Okay, I'm going to send 5 other mothers with you. That's the power we want to show now, because it's very important that we show physical solidarity and show up. So with that said, I will stop now, and if you have any questions.
We've been very lucky, very fortunate here that we have an incredible group of supporters, people who have reached out and join us by the day to attend our events and help in any way possible. So we're so grateful, and we always encourage people who are already familiar with us to reach out and invite somebody else to come see what we do. So I feel like we are on a really good path, and I appreciate everything that you're doing, Soraya, and I know that we look forward more and more to working in any way that we can with you, because we need the numbers, we need our voice, and so much of what you say resonates with me personally, and I think I can speak on behalf of the other ladies here in the group. So just thank you for everything you do.
And men, don't forget.
And men.
Thank you so much. If there's anything, write to me. I mean, my email is here, you know it. I'll be so happy to share strategies and answer questions, and let's meet at the top.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.